The story of Captain Elias Hart was known across more star systems than most humans could even name. He was not a man of titles, riches, or political power, yet his name carried weight in every corner of the galaxy. Some whispered his name with respect, others with irritation. He had a reputation for courage, cleverness, and an unshakable sense of independence. But one thing set him apart more than anything else. He had refused every alien bride the Galactic Empire had sent him. The Galactic Empire of Zythera was enormous. Its fleets spanned entire solar systems, and its influence stretched across hundreds of worlds. Diplomacy and political marriages were the tools the Empire used to maintain control. Every human male of note who caught their attention was soon sent invitations, commands, really, to marry one of their noble daughters. It was considered an honor, but for Elias Hart, it was a trap. Elias had learned early in his life that freedom was priceless. On his homeworld, a small but industrious human colony called Verdant Edge, he had grown up among people who prized ingenuity and independence above all. The first time the Empire had sent a bride, he had politely declined, citing his work as a captain and explorer. The next, he refused with humor, suggesting that he was married to adventure. The third, he simply disappeared before the bride could arrive. By the time the fourth and fifth proposals came, the Empire began to grow frustrated. No human had ever refused them so openly, and no human had ever done it more than once or twice. But Elias had managed to refuse every single one. Some said he had charm, others said luck, but the truth was simpler. He had skill, wit, and a mind that refused to bend to anyone's will, even the galaxy's most powerful empire. Rumors spread across the star systems. "No alien can tame a human spirit," the traders would say in hushed voices at spaceports. "He laughs at our technology, tricks our diplomats, and still walks free." Among humans, he became something of a legend. Among the Empire, he became a thorn, a challenge, and eventually a problem that required attention. On the Emperor's throne world of Zythera Prime, the Council convened to discuss Elias. The Emperor himself was a tall, imposing figure whose voice could silence a chamber. He did not care for humans except as a curiosity, yet this human, this Captain Hart, had captured his attention. "He refuses every proposal," said one counselor, his voice trembling slightly. "He has insulted our noble families repeatedly, and still he survives. We will send one who has no equal in the galaxy. She will test him, break him, or bring him to us under her control. Prepare her. I want this human dealt with." Elias was examining a star chart when the message came in, simple, formal, and unmistakably imperial. "Captain Elias Hart, your refusal record has been noted. A bride will be dispatched to Aurora Station. She is the Empire's most formidable. Failure to accept her will result in immediate action." The Emperor. He had been expecting something like this eventually. He knew the Empire rarely tolerated defiance, and now they were escalating. But he felt no fear, only curiosity. Who was this person, and how dangerous could she really be? Aurora Station was a human colony on the edge of a neutral system. It was bustling with life, traders, miners, and explorers passing through on their journeys. Elias chose it for its distance from the Empire's central command and its abundance of allies who respected him. When the news of the approaching bride spread, whispers filled the corridors. The station's inhabitants knew the story. They knew the man who had refused every alien bride. Among those whispers, a few raised questions. "Do you think he will survive this one?" asked a young engineer, her eyes wide. Another shook his head. "No human could possibly handle the Empire's best. If she is really that dangerous, this could be the end of him." His plan was simple: face whatever came with wit, skill, and a refusal to be intimidated. The day she arrived, a shuttle descended through the station's atmosphere, sleek and silent. The Empire's insignia glimmered on its side. Elias watched from the observation deck as the craft landed, the airlocks hissing, and then she appeared. She was tall, lithe, and moved with a grace that was almost predatory. Her eyes were sharp, scanning the room, taking in everything at once. Elias felt the subtle weight of presence, someone who was trained, dangerous, and unafraid. She carried herself like a predator among prey, yet there was something else in her posture: intelligence, confidence, control. "I am Serafina Vreek," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "I have been sent by the Empire, Captain Hart. I am to engage you in marriage, to represent the Empire." Humans had survived countless dangers, and he trusted his instincts, his intelligence, and his skill. If anyone could withstand the Empire's most dangerous agent, it was him. Over the following days, Serafina's presence became known across Aurora Station. She moved like a shadow, always observing, always learning. Elias noticed her in the corridors, in the training arenas, and even in the market, assessing, measuring, calculating. Yet despite her reputation, he found ways to outmaneuver her, sometimes with subtle tricks, sometimes with bold challenges that left her intrigued rather than defeated. Their interactions were a mix of tense standoffs and clever conversation. She tested his patience with psychological games, attempted to intimidate him with feats of strength, and demonstrated combat skills that could have killed most men instantly. And yet, Elias responded with calm logic, quick thinking, and a refusal to be threatened. In the evenings, when the station was quieter, they would engage in conversations that stretched long into the night. Serafina asked about human culture, human strategy, and Elias' past adventures. He answered openly, revealing human ingenuity, adaptability, and moral strength. Each story he told chipped away at her perception of humans as weak or naive. Elias, for his part, studied her. He recognized her skill, intelligence, and danger, but he also saw cracks in her resolve. She was loyal to the Empire, yes, but she was not entirely without curiosity or doubt. And that curiosity could be a weakness or an opportunity. Despite the tension, there was an unspoken respect forming between them. Elias admired her skill, her discipline, and her focus. She, in turn, found herself impressed by his cleverness, his courage, and his refusal to be manipulated. The human mind was different, unpredictable, and that made him a challenge unlike any other. Word of their interactions reached the Empire quickly. Reports were sent back. The humans survived all attempts at intimidation, remained calm under pressure, and had even managed to turn several situations to his favor. Serafina's superiors were astonished and somewhat alarmed. No agent had ever reported such a result. The Emperor, upon hearing this, was intrigued. "Interesting," he muttered. "Perhaps this human is worth watching more closely than I imagined." But there was also irritation in his voice. Elias' heart had become more than a nuisance. He had become a symbol of human independence, defiance, and resilience. As the days passed, the tension between Elias and Serafina grew. They sparred in the training arenas, debated strategy in private quarters, and challenged each other's perceptions of strength and honor. Each encounter ended with the same understanding. Neither would yield easily, and both were learning from the other. Then came the day when Serafina, for the first time, allowed herself to show a hint of uncertainty. A trial set by the Empire went wrong, and Elias' quick thinking saved them both from disaster. She looked at him with something akin to respect, and perhaps the first hint of admiration. Elias, ever observant, noticed the change. Humans were always quick to notice subtle shifts in behavior. He understood that the Empire's plan to break him had met with resistance not just from him, but from the agents sent to enforce it. That night, as he looked out over Aurora Station from the observation deck, he allowed himself a small smile. The game had begun, but he was far from defeated. The Empire could send its most dangerous agents, its most cunning diplomats, and its most formidable weapons, but he was human, and humans survived against all odds. And so the legend continued. Elias Hart, the human who rejected every alien bride, faced the Empire's most dangerous agent and lived to tell the tale. The story had only just begun, and the galaxy would soon see that no force, no matter how powerful, could command the human spirit. Elias Hart had always believed that intelligence and courage could overcome any challenge. But as days passed with Serafina Vreek on Aurora Station, he realized that this mission was unlike any he had faced before. She was more than just an agent of the Empire. She was cunning, skilled, and relentless. Every interaction with her felt like a battle of minds, and every day tested his patience, his wits, and his instincts. Serafina did not reveal all of her abilities at once. She moved quietly, observing Elias from the corners of rooms, from across corridors, and even through the station's security systems. Her training allowed her to anticipate threats, read people quickly, and strike when least expected. Yet Elias, true to human nature, never let her predict him completely. He had survived ambushes, traps, and assassins before, and he was not about to let the Empire's deadliest agent catch him off guard. Their first formal meeting after her arrival was arranged by the station's governor, a man who wanted to ensure diplomacy proceeded smoothly. The governor's hall was vast, with towering windows showing the swirling clouds of Aurora's atmosphere. The humans gathered in the hall whispered among themselves. They had heard of the human who had refused every alien bride, and now the Empire's most dangerous agent had come to challenge him. Elias entered calmly, dressed in his usual exploration gear, and gave a respectful nod to the governor. Serafina stood opposite him, her posture perfect, her eyes sharp, her hand resting subtly on the hilt of a concealed weapon. "Captain Hart," she said, her voice even and commanding, "the Empire has made its intentions clear. You are to comply or consequences will follow. You will find that I am no ordinary storm." Over the following days, Serafina began to introduce the trials set by the Empire. They were not ordinary tests of diplomacy or survival. Each was designed to push Elias to his limits. In the first trial, they were sent into the simulation chambers, where holographic environments recreated deadly planets, full of hostile wildlife and lethal conditions. Elias relied on his quick thinking and knowledge of human ingenuity to navigate the dangers. While Serafina demonstrated precision and skill, Elias used clever improvisation, turning simple tools into effective weapons and defenses. After the simulation, Serafina acknowledged his cleverness without a word. She did not smile, but her eyes showed recognition. Few humans could match her intelligence and speed, and Elias' ability to adapt so quickly was unusual. She made a mental note: this human was not like the others. Their next trial involved diplomacy with alien factions in the station. These were factions known for their cunning, deception, and brutality. The Empire expected Elias to fail, to humiliate himself, or to give in to intimidation. Instead, he listened, observed, and negotiated. Using simple logic and human empathy, he persuaded the aliens to work together temporarily, forming alliances that the Empire had not anticipated. Serafina watched silently, impressed. Elias' strength was not just in his mind or his hands, but in his ability to inspire trust and loyalty. It was a human trait that alien species often underestimated, and it gave him an edge no amount of training could match. One evening, the trial took an unexpected turn. A minor systems malfunction caused a section of the station to go into lockdown, and several alien delegates became trapped in dangerous corridors with unstable energy conduits. Serafina moved quickly to contain the threat, using her combat skills to neutralize the immediate danger. Elias, however, devised a clever solution to restore the station's systems and guide the delegates to safety. After the crisis, they stood side by side, breathing heavily. Neither spoke for a moment, each acknowledging the other's skill. Serafina realized that Elias had survived not through brute force, but through creativity, observation, and courage. These were traits few humans had, and they were qualities that even the Empire struggled to measure. The next day, Elias returned to his quarters to find Serafina waiting. She did not speak at first. She simply observed him, her eyes scanning his face, his posture, his expression. Elias, used to reading people, met her gaze calmly. "You are different," she said finally. "No human I have faced has survived my trials, yet here you are, standing undefeated." It was almost imperceptible, but Elias noticed it. She was beginning to see him not as a target, not as a challenge, but as a man whose spirit could not be easily broken. Days passed, and the trials continued. Some tested physical strength, others mental agility, and some were designed to provoke fear or doubt. Each time, Elias responded with calm logic, adapting quickly and turning disadvantage into advantage. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability often gave him the upper hand. Serafina, for her part, found herself questioning her mission. She had been trained to obey the Empire without hesitation, to complete her tasks with precision, and to ensure that humans remained under their control. Yet Elias' behavior challenged everything she believed. He was not just surviving, he was demonstrating qualities she had not expected: courage, innovation, empathy, and moral clarity. One night, during a quiet moment in the observation deck, Serafina spoke to Elias about her own life. She described the Empire, her training, and the expectations placed upon her. Elias listened carefully, asking questions, not to manipulate, but to understand. Humans were natural observers, and he had a way of drawing trust from even the most disciplined individuals. "You have the freedom to choose," he said softly. "It is something humans treasure. I do not tell you this to lecture you, but to remind you that no one should take your life or your decisions from you." The idea of choice, of personal agency, was foreign in her life, and yet, for the first time, she felt a faint sense of autonomy. The following trial was designed to be the most dangerous yet. The Empire had created a simulation of a collapsing asteroid field, complete with rogue debris, energy surges, and alien raiders. Serafina expected Elias to panic or fail, but he remained calm, guiding them both through the chaos with quick decisions and bold maneuvers. He used simple tools in creative ways, demonstrating the human talent for improvisation. By the time the trial ended, it was clear to Serafina that Elias had not only survived but excelled. Her respect for him grew, though she did not yet admit it openly. The human's resilience, intelligence, and courage were unlike anything she had encountered. Word of his successes reached the Empire once more. Reports indicated that their most dangerous agent had failed to intimidate or control the human. Instead, the human had adapted, survived, and even thrived. The Emperor himself raised an eyebrow at the news. Elia's heart was no longer just a nuisance. He had become a symbol, a living demonstration of what humans could achieve when challenged. Back on Aurora Station, life continued in its tense rhythm. Elias and Serafina trained together, sparred together, and sometimes shared quiet conversations about the universe, strategy, and philosophy. Each interaction strengthened their understanding of one another. Elias learned that Serafina was not simply a weapon. She was a complex individual with her own thoughts, fears, and loyalties. Serafina realized that humans were more than simple creatures. They were adaptable, inventive, and capable of profound moral courage. One evening, as the twin moons of Aurora rose in the sky, casting silver light across the station, Serafina spoke quietly to Elias. "I have been sent to control you, Captain Hart, but I find myself questioning everything. Perhaps the Empire underestimated not just you, but humanity itself." Could she betray her mission? Could she truly choose her own path? The thought was both frightening and liberating. Elias had shown her that freedom was not just a word, it was a way of life, a principle worth defending. The days turned into weeks and the trials continued, each one testing them in new ways. The bond between Elias and Serafina grew, though it remained unspoken. Respect, trust, and curiosity replaced fear and hostility. Yet the Empire's shadow loomed over them, a constant reminder that their freedom was temporary and that the ultimate test had yet to come. Elias knew that the Empire would not give up easily. They had sent their most dangerous agent, and failure was not an option. But he also knew that humans were resilient, that ingenuity and courage could overcome even the greatest odds. As he prepared for the next challenge, he felt a sense of calm determination. The trials were not just tests of strength or skill. They were opportunities to show that humanity could endure, adapt, and triumph, no matter the enemy. Serafina, watching him, began to understand the depth of the human spirit. Elias' heart was more than a man. He was a living example of what humans could achieve when they refused to yield. And that realization would change her, the Empire, and the galaxy in ways neither of them could yet imagine. The story of the human who refused every alien bride was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And as Aurora Station hummed with life, one truth became clear. The galaxy had never seen a human like Elias Hart, and it would never be the same again. The days on Aurora Station were long, filled with trials, challenges, and constant tension. Elias Hart had grown used to the presence of Serafina Vreek, though he never underestimated her skills. Every trial the Empire set was meant to break him, but he had survived all of them, and each success only strengthened his reputation as the human who could not be controlled. Serafina had begun to see Elias not just as a target, but as a partner of sorts, a formidable mind that rivaled her own. Yet the trials were far from over. The Empire had one goal: test him in ways that no human had ever faced before. The next trial was one that combined physical endurance, mental skill, and moral decision-making. The Empire had created a simulated alien world called Narathis, filled with unstable terrain, harsh weather, and hostile wildlife. It was a place designed to break anyone who entered, a world where mistakes meant certain death. Elias entered the simulation with careful preparation. Unlike most, he did not rely on brute strength or advanced technology alone. He observed patterns, noted weaknesses in the environment, and anticipated dangers before they appeared. His human adaptability gave him an edge that the Empire had not considered. Serafina followed closely, evaluating his movements, testing his reactions, and observing his problem-solving skills. She expected him to panic, to make mistakes, to fail. But Elias moved with precision, creativity, and courage, guiding them through collapsing caves, unstable cliffs, and predatory creatures that lurked in the shadows. At one point, a massive rock formation began to collapse, and a deadly creature lunged from the darkness. Elias acted instinctively, using a simple lever and rope to redirect the creature's attack, while simultaneously stabilizing the rocks just enough to create a path for both of them. Serafina watched, impressed, as he turned danger into opportunity, demonstrating ingenuity that no simulator could have predicted. After the simulation, she confronted him privately. "You are not just clever," she said, her voice steady but tinged with curiosity. "You are fearless. Humans like you should not exist. You should fail. You should be afraid." She had been trained to obey, to eliminate threats, and to ensure control. Yet she could not deny what she had witnessed. Elia's heart was a human who refused to break. That simple fact unsettled her. The next trial was psychological. The Empire forced Elias into a diplomatic challenge with alien factions known for deception, manipulation, and treachery. Their goal was to trap him into making a mistake that could destroy him or his allies. Many humans would have failed immediately. Elias did not. He observed the factions carefully, noting their patterns of speech, body language, and decision-making. He listened more than he spoke, gathering information. Using simple logic, he found common ground between the factions, persuading them to act in ways that served mutual benefit. What the Empire had intended as a trap became an opportunity. Not only did Elias survive, but he also strengthened alliances between alien species, further proving humanity's adaptability and intelligence. Serafina noted every action. She realized that Elias' ability to inspire loyalty, to think creatively, and to act decisively was unlike anything she had encountered. He was not just surviving the Empire's tests, he was redefining what it meant to face them. Despite the growing respect between them, the Empire was not idle. They observed every move, adjusting simulations, increasing difficulty, and introducing real danger. One morning, Elias received a message. A live mission was now required. He and Serafina would be sent to a remote sector to secure a valuable artifact under the threat of hostile forces. Failure would not be an option. The mission was set on a planet known as Krythos, a barren world with jagged cliffs, violent storms, and creatures that had evolved to survive extreme conditions. The Empire expected that this mission would test Elias to the limit. As they landed, the storm lashed against their ship, and the jagged cliffs loomed like a wall of knives. Elias assessed the situation calmly, noting the safest route, potential hazards, and locations where ambushes could occur. Serafina followed silently, recognizing his skill but still unsure if she fully trusted him yet. The first challenge came quickly. A group of hostile mercenaries, hired by the Empire to simulate combat threats, ambushed them. Serafina moved instinctively, neutralizing the attackers with precision and speed. Elias, however, used his human ingenuity to turn the terrain to their advantage. He triggered controlled avalanches, used the cliffs for cover, and guided them through paths that the mercenaries could not anticipate. After the skirmish, they reached the artifact, a crystalline structure that pulsed with energy. Retrieving it required both intelligence and courage. Elias examined the structure, deciphering the security mechanisms with careful observation. It was a puzzle of logic, physics, and intuition. Within minutes, he had found the solution, extracting the artifact without triggering any alarms. Serafina stared in quiet admiration. No human should have been able to accomplish this, yet Elias had done so with calm efficiency. His mind, she realized, was the greatest weapon of all. As they returned to the ship, a sudden transmission from the Empire warned them that their mission was being observed in real time. Any failure, hesitation, or misstep would have consequences not just for Elias, but for everyone on Aurora Station. The pressure was immense. Elias did not falter. He remained composed, navigating storms, hostile terrain, and enemy forces with the skill and courage that had defined his life. Serafina began to feel a strange mixture of respect and unease. The human spirit, she realized, could not be contained, predicted, or broken easily. During a moment of rest, Elias and Serafina spoke quietly. "They believe they can control everything," Elias said, looking at the storm-tossed horizon. "They think strategy, weapons, and power are enough, but humans, we adapt. We survive. That is why they underestimate us." Yet Elias' words stirred something within her, a recognition of choice, of free will, of the unpredictable strength of humans. The mission concluded successfully. Elias had not only retrieved the artifact, but had also demonstrated to Serafina and the Empire that human ingenuity and courage could overcome even the most extreme odds. Reports from the observation team confirmed it. The human had survived where others would have failed, outsmarted trained agents, and secured victory through skill, intelligence, and perseverance. Back on Aurora Station, life resumed its tense rhythm. The trials continued, each more difficult than the last, yet Elias faced them all with the same calm determination. Serafina, once a loyal agent of the Empire, found herself questioning everything she had been taught. Elias had shown her that humans were capable of extraordinary resilience, cleverness, and moral courage. One night, as they observed the stars from the station's observation deck, Serafina spoke quietly. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met, Captain Hart. I have faced the galaxy's best, trained to be unstoppable, and yet you survive. You adapt. You inspire loyalty in ways I cannot explain. It is not about strength alone. It is about courage, creativity, and the willingness to face the unknown without fear." For the first time, she realized that choice mattered and that the human spirit was not something to be controlled. The trials continued over the following weeks. Some tested their physical abilities, others tested their minds, and some were designed to provoke fear or doubt. Each time, Elias responded with calm logic and creative solutions, turning disadvantage into advantage. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability often gave him the edge. Serafina observed closely, learning from him as much as she had been trained to test him. She began to see the value of human ingenuity and courage in ways that the Empire had never intended. Elias Hart was not just surviving, he was demonstrating the power of humanity itself. As the part of the trial known as the Trial of Resolve approached, the Empire prepared its most dangerous challenge yet. It was designed to break the mind, test loyalty, and force humans to question their morality. Elias knew that this trial would not only test his strength and intellect, but also his character. Serafina, now conflicted, realized that the Empire had underestimated both him and the potential for humans to inspire change. She had begun to respect him, not only for his skill and courage, but also for his ability to remain principled under pressure. And in that respect, something unexpected was growing, a bond forged not by orders, fear, or manipulation, but by mutual recognition of strength and character. Elias understood the trial ahead. It would be difficult, dangerous, and designed to push him to the limits of human endurance. But he also understood this. The galaxy had never seen what humans were truly capable of, and now it was time to show them. The story of Elias Hart, the human who had rejected every alien bride, had reached its most dangerous stage. The Empire's trials would continue, and the stakes would grow higher. Yet with each challenge, Elias proved that humans could adapt, survive, and triumph against the greatest odds. Serafina, watching him, could not deny it. Humanity, through him, had become a force that even the Empire could not control. And as the galaxy watched, the legend of the human who refused to yield continued to grow. The calm on Aurora Station did not last. Elias Hart had known that the Empire would not sit idly by while one human outsmarted their most dangerous agent. They were a force that punished defiance swiftly and decisively. Now, after weeks of observing him, the Empire had decided that indirect trials were no longer sufficient. They would strike directly. Elias sensed the change before it arrived. The hum of the station's energy grids grew irregular, communications were scrambled intermittently, and sensors detected unusual fleet movement near the outer rim. Every instinct, honed by years of exploration and survival, told him danger was coming. Serafina stood beside him on the observation deck. Her eyes narrowed as she analyzed the approaching fleet. "They have sent the Imperial Guard. This is no simulation. They intend to take you or destroy you." They trusted Elias. He had always led by example, inspiring courage and loyalty without demanding it. Now their faith in him would be tested. The first wave of Imperial fighters descended, sleek and deadly. They tore through space with precision, aiming to disable Aurora Station before launching ground assaults. Elias coordinated the station's defenses, relying not on raw firepower alone, but on human ingenuity. He rerouted power to shields in creative ways, used the station's maintenance drones to misdirect enemy targeting, and even lured enemy ships into asteroid fields that had been long considered too dangerous to navigate. Serafina watched, impressed despite herself. Humans, she realized, were not predictable. Their creativity and adaptability allowed them to survive against overwhelming odds. Elias Hart embodied that spirit, and it was terrifyingly effective. The battle intensified. Imperial troops beamed down to the station in squads, trained for combat and equipped with advanced weaponry. Most humans would have panicked, but the station's inhabitants, inspired by Ilias, held their ground. Using clever traps, improvised weapons, and coordinated strategies, they delayed the enemy at every turn. Ilias and Serafina led small strike teams, moving swiftly through corridors and engineering bays. Where technology failed, strategy succeeded. Where brute force would have been overwhelming, tactics and creativity prevailed. Humans turned their environment into a weapon, exploiting weaknesses the Empire had never anticipated. At one point, a squad of elite Imperial soldiers cornered Ilias in a maintenance corridor. They were armed with energy rifles capable of piercing the thickest armor. Ilias did not panic. He scanned the area quickly and noticed a series of hydraulic pistons connected to the ceiling supports. Using only a small handheld device, he triggered the pistons, sending debris crashing down to block the soldiers' advance. Then, moving with precise timing, he used the station's narrow maintenance shafts to escape unseen. Serafina followed closely, her expression a mix of admiration and disbelief. She had trained to anticipate every human tactic, yet Ilias continually surprised her. He was not just clever, he was unpredictable, resourceful, and fearless. The Empire's most dangerous agent realized that her mission to control him was failing. As the battle raged, Ilias rallied the station's inhabitants for a final stand. He divided them into teams, each with a specific task, defending key systems, rescuing trapped civilians, and creating diversions to confuse the enemy. His leadership was natural, born from experience and respect rather than fear. Humans responded because they believed in him, and that belief gave them strength the Empire could not calculate. The Imperial commander on the station realized that brute force alone would not succeed. They deployed heavier weaponry, targeting critical systems with energy beams capable of destroying entire sections of the station. Ilias, anticipating this, had prepared. He used a combination of old human engineering and quick improvisation to shield the station's core systems. When one beam struck a critical conduit, he rerouted energy, preventing a catastrophic failure and saving hundreds of lives. Serafina assisted him, using her combat skills to neutralize saboteurs and secure vital areas. Yet she noticed a change within herself. The loyalty she had once felt to the Empire was faltering. Ilias' actions, his calm determination, and his unwavering courage made her question everything she had been taught. Perhaps humans were not to be controlled, perhaps they were meant to inspire. The turning point came when Ilias devised a bold plan to turn the tide of battle. He gathered a small team of skilled humans and sympathetic aliens and led a covert strike against the Imperial fleet's command center in orbit. Using a combination of stealth tactics, decoy drones, and careful timing, they infiltrated the station's defense grid and disabled the fleet's coordination systems. Chaos erupted among the Imperial forces. Without coordination, their attacks became disorganized, and the station's defenders seized the advantage. Humans fought with courage, ingenuity, and unity, exploiting every weakness, every gap, and every miscalculation the Empire had made. Serafina, witnessing the humans' resourcefulness, made a decision. She turned against her own people, siding with Ilias. Her skills, combined with his strategy, became a force the Empire had not anticipated. Together, they led a counterattack that drove the Imperial troops into retreat. The battle ended with Aurora Station damaged but still intact. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and Ilia's heart had proven that their greatest strength was not technology, not numbers, but courage, creativity, and unity. The station's inhabitants celebrated, but Ilias knew the war was far from over. The Empire would not forget this humiliation. In the aftermath, Ilias and Serafina walked through the station, observing the recovery efforts. She looked at him with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and something else she could not yet name. "You are extraordinary, Ilias Hart," she said quietly. "I never imagined a human could inspire such loyalty, such courage. Perhaps the Empire has underestimated your species entirely." She had trained her entire life to serve the Empire without question, yet this human had challenged her beliefs and forced her to see things differently. For the first time, she realized that choice, courage, and moral strength were forces more powerful than any weapon. The news of the battle spread quickly across the galaxy. Ilias Hart, the human who had rejected every alien bride, had not only survived the Empire's most dangerous agent, but had also led a small human colony to victory against one of the galaxy's greatest military powers. Stories circulated of his ingenuity, his courage, and the loyalty he inspired in others. Humans, once underestimated, were now seen as a force to be reckoned with. The Empire, humiliated and furious, began preparing a personal vendetta. They would not allow a single human to defy them so openly. Yet Elias and Serafina, standing together on Aurora Station, knew that humanity had proven its worth. They had survived, adapted, and triumphed where others would have failed. Serafina, now fully allied with Elias, reflected on the events of the battle. She had seen firsthand the power of human ingenuity, courage, and unity. Elias had taught her that strength was not measured by obedience or training alone, but by the ability to think, adapt, and act with purpose. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not to be underestimated. Elias, ever humble, focused on the recovery efforts and the well-being of the station's inhabitants. He knew that the Empire would return, that greater challenges awaited, and that survival required constant vigilance. Yet he also knew something more important. Humans could inspire change, defy expectations, and survive against even the greatest odds. As night fell over Aurora Station, the stars shining brightly in the sky above, Elias and Serafina stood together, looking out at the galaxy. "The Empire will not forget this," she said softly. "No," Elias replied, "but neither will they forget what humans are capable of. Courage, ingenuity, and unity, those are our strengths, and we will show them again if we must." He had demonstrated that humans were more than clever, more than strong, and more than resilient. They were unpredictable, unstoppable, and capable of inspiring loyalty and courage in ways the galaxy could not measure. The legend was far from over. The Empire would strike again, challenges would grow more dangerous, and humanity would be tested further. But one truth was clear. The galaxy had never seen a human like Elias Hart, and it would never be the same. The Empire's response was swift. Humiliated by Aurora Station's resistance, they mobilized a fleet unlike any seen before, a massive armada of warships, cruisers, and battle stations designed to crush any opposition. Elias Hart knew that this would be their greatest challenge yet. But he also knew that humans had an advantage the Empire could never fully calculate: ingenuity, adaptability, and courage in the face of impossible odds. Serafina stood beside him on the observation deck of the Iron Horizon, the ship Elias had retrofitted for speed, defense, and clever tactics. "This is their strongest fleet," she said, her tone steady but serious. "They intend to wipe out Aurora Station and every human here. There is no room for error." Together, they formulated a plan that relied not on brute strength, but on clever strategy, improvisation, and the ability to think faster than the enemy. The plan was bold. They would use the asteroid field surrounding Aurora's system as cover, set traps along predictable paths, and disrupt the Empire's communications and targeting systems. Every move required precise timing, coordination, and trust in one another, and Elias knew that humanity's greatest strength would shine: the unpredictable creativity of people who refuse to be controlled. The first wave of the Imperial fleet entered the asteroid field. As expected, the massive warships moved cautiously, scanning for threats. Elias anticipated this. Using small, fast ships piloted by humans and allies, they harassed the fleet, luring larger ships into asteroid clusters and causing chaos. Debris collided with hulls, energy beams misfired, and confusion spread among the ranks. Serafina coordinated with Elias seamlessly. Her combat experience and training made her deadly, but Elias' human ingenuity turned every situation into an advantage. He had taught her to think creatively, to improvise rather than simply follow orders, and she now operated not as the Empire's agent, but as his partner in strategy. The Empire's commander realized that this was not a normal resistance. Humans were not acting predictably, and their attacks were coordinated in ways that defied conventional logic. Every ambush, diversion, and countermeasure was planned with careful observation and calculated improvisation. The Armada began to falter, their massive numbers proving cumbersome in the chaotic environment of the asteroid field. On the station itself, humans and sympathetic aliens prepared for the ground assault. Traps were set, defenses reinforced, and escape routes strategically planned. Where the Empire had expected fear, they found courage. Where they had expected submission, they found strategy. The human spirit embodied in every person on Aurora was proving unstoppable. Elias led a small strike team aboard a captured Imperial shuttle. Their mission was to disable the flagship's main energy core, a dangerous, heavily guarded objective that the Empire had assumed no human could reach. Serafina accompanied him, her skills crucial to bypassing security systems and neutralizing elite guards. The journey through the enemy ship was tense. Corridors were narrow, energy turrets lined the walls, and every step was a potential trap. Yet Ilias remained calm, using logic and observation to anticipate danger. Serafina moved with lethal precision, covering their path and ensuring no enemy could predict their approach. When they reached the energy core, Ilias studied the mechanisms. It was complex, designed to be foolproof, yet he observed subtle flaws, small patterns in the timing, weaknesses in the shielding, and mechanical redundancies that could be exploited. Using a combination of simple tools, quick thinking, and human intuition, he created a device that bypassed the core's defenses. The operation was risky. One mistake could trigger a catastrophic explosion, but Ilias trusted his instincts. As he worked, Serafina kept watch, neutralizing patrols and assisting when needed. Together, human ingenuity and elite skill overcame the Empire's most advanced technology. With the core destabilized, the flagship lost power. Chaos spread through the fleet. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and command structures broke down. The Empire's greatest force was now vulnerable, not because of superior strength, but because they underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Back on Aurora Station, Ilias coordinated the final phase. Civilians were evacuated using improvised shuttles and hidden transport routes. Traps and diversions slowed enemy troops, allowing the station's defenders to strike strategically rather than fight blindly. Every human, every ally played a part. Their courage, unity, and clever thinking multiplied their effectiveness beyond what the Empire could measure. Serafina, observing the humans, realized fully what Ilias had been teaching her. Courage was not just physical strength. Leadership was not just authority. Survival was not just numbers or firepower. Humans excelled because they could think differently, act unpredictably, and inspire others to rise to challenges. She felt a sense of pride in joining them, not as an agent of control, but as a partner in proving humanity's worth. The final confrontation came as the Imperial commander attempted a direct assault on the station's command center. Ilias anticipated this. Using hidden corridors, rapid deployment teams, and cleverly rigged defense systems, they ambushed the attackers, turning their assault into a trap. Human ingenuity, combined with Serafina's combat skill, neutralized the threat efficiently. As the battle drew to a close, the Empire's forces began to retreat. The fleet, shattered and disorganized, withdrew into space. Aurora Station remained intact, its inhabitants alive and victorious. The galaxy had witnessed a human victory against impossible odds, a triumph of ingenuity, courage, and moral resolve over raw power and intimidation. In the aftermath, Serafina turned to Ilias. "You have shown me, humans are more than I ever imagined. Courage, intelligence, unity, it is not strength alone that defines you, but the will to survive and the ability to inspire. I have been wrong to serve the Empire unquestioningly. The galaxy will learn that soon enough." The Empire, humiliated and enraged, vowed vengeance, but their plans would now be met with the knowledge that humans could survive against overwhelming force. They underestimated the unpredictable, inventive, and morally strong nature of humanity. Ilias and Serafina stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, opportunity, and unknown challenges. Yet they had proven something essential: humanity could face the impossible, adapt, and triumph. "I suppose," Serafina said quietly, "the Empire will not bother sending another agent anytime soon. Humans survive not because we are stronger, but because we refuse to be controlled, because we think, adapt, and act when others cannot. That is what makes us human." She had once been the Empire's weapon, but now she was a witness to humanity's triumph and a willing ally. The galaxy had seen the full measure of what a single human, aided by the courage and ingenuity of others, could achieve. Ilia's heart had survived the Empire's greatest trials, outsmarted its most dangerous agent, and inspired loyalty and courage in ways that would echo across systems. As night fell over Aurora Station, lights shimmering against the stars, Ilias and Serafina reflected on what they had accomplished. It was more than survival. It was a demonstration of human potential, of the power of cleverness, courage, and moral strength. Humanity had been underestimated, and now the galaxy would never make the same mistake again. Ilias looked at Serafina. I did not choose this victory for myself alone. Humans and those who stand with them create their own path. That is why we survive, and that is why we will continue to do so. Humanity had proven its worth, and the story of Elia's heart, the human who rejected every alien bride, would be told across the galaxy for generations. His courage, ingenuity, and moral resolve had changed the way the galaxy viewed humans forever. The Empire would continue to challenge, fleets would rise and fall, and dangers would always exist. But one truth remained: humans, unpredictable and inventive, could survive, adapt, and triumph where others would fail. And Elia's heart had shown them all exactly how it could be done. The galaxy had witnessed the full measure of humanity, and it would never forget.